Okay, so for our first hand, we have Under the Gun here. Now, these aren't my hands, so I don't have real specific reads on people, but these were hands submitted for kind of some of the video that they wanted to produce. So our reads right here are negligible. We have a little better reads on the other two people, I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, all we know is that villain is 29-20 with a 21% under the gun raise and an aggression factor of 3.5. We've seen him overbet the turn before, no showdown, but we have no other history with the villain. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We're 200 big blinds deep, so that should be fun. We're in middle position. So people's flan ranges, even though in the cutoff, I find to be quite strong to an under the gun range, which by no means is a bad thing, but it's just something to consider. It seems to be fairly pocket pair heavy, and now it's become kind of in vogue to flat a lot of hands that were previously 3-bet against under the gun. So like hands like jacks, ace queen, some ace king, and then balancing that out with some of the premium hands to the point where I would say a decent amount of people don't really have a 3-betting range here with the cutoff versus the under the gun range. And whether that's okay or not, I'm not entirely sure. I'd much prefer to having too wide of a 3-betting range, but I think people kind of somewhere find themselves settle in the middle when it comes down to that. So we flat on the cutoff, completely fine. So he's raising 21% of hands, and so I just brought up Poker Stove just to see what that type of range would look like. I just used kind of a linear range of hands, and so we've got I think a pretty reasonable expectation of what he does. He might have a few more like ace 3 and ace 2 suited rather than say king 7 suited. He might choose to swap out a few of those things, or say for a jack 10 offsuit, right along the fringes of this range. But overall, I think it's a pretty good estimation. Notice that this does not include all of the lower pocket pairs, which I think most good players have kind of taken out of their range in this spot. But some people who are still big winners do open those under the gun. So something to take into account. And if we look on this board, we've got 7th, which is nice. We've got a huge advantage versus range. So considering that on this board, we take a $27 bet into $75, I'm just raising this all day. If we're not raising this, we have like no raising range on this board, and this is pretty much our best hand to raise, other than specifically 8-9 suit if we did flat it, just because we also don't block like any 10s, so he might feel stubborn, or he might feel like, oh, well, he won't raise a 10, 7-6 suited's unlikely, 8-9 suited's unlikely, so he's really just repping sets, and I can try to take him off a bit later or whatnot. Could definitely get him to play back at us. And if the argument is no, he's never continuing with worse, well then just like every time he bets 27 on this board, just bluff raise him. So we see the turn, and the villain bets 148, which I find a little odd. Like it's trying to tell a story of, well, please don't fold on the flop. Just please, whatever you do, just don't fold. And then on the turn, it's like, I know you're not going to believe this turn overbet, so now I'm going to overbet on the turn, coupled with my min bet or my small bet on the flop. I'm going to say, well, now I'm ready to really ramp up the aggression and kind of like take your money on that. But if we look at our villain's range here, which I just added in to Flopzilla, and yeah, that should all be visible. And here we are with our 7s against on this board, and turn on the filters to basically include only times he's betting with a backdoor, 2 overcards and a backdoor flush draw. I guess you could include some gut shots here. Let's see what those hands look like. Ace 9, Ace 8 suited. Yeah, I think he's probably betting most of those gut shots on this board to try to push out, just like Ace King, Ace Queen, those type of hands. Those are debatable. I'll add them in for right now.